Hello. Is it afternoon yet? Yes. You know, the hours just go by so fast now. My name's London Breed. I'm the mayor of the city and county of San Francisco, and I am excited to be joined by so many amazing people to talk about something that is so important. In July, San Francisco became the first country in the nation, became the first city in the nation to stop charging administrative fees to people who are exiting jail and the criminal justice system. And I was really proud to sponsor this legislation when I was president of the Board of Supervisors. The public defender, Jeff Adachi, was working so hard with a committee of folks to come up with a way to address this issue, and I want to thank him for his tireless leadership on pushing to reform the criminal justice system. But we didn't stop there. Today, we are proud to announce that we have taken this even a step further. People have been charged these fees for years, and a lot of the debt has built up. This burden has been bearing down on thousands of families across our city. Today, we are announcing that we are eliminating this debt, $32.7 million of debt. Again, thanks to the advocacy of our public defender, Jeff Adachi, and the DA's office. This debt is owed by over 21,000 people in our community with an average amount of $1,500 per person. I want to make sure everyone knows how important this is. A lot of people don't know what happens when people are released from jail or exit the criminal justice system. They are charged thousands of dollars in fees, fees only meant to recoup cost for our city and our county and our courts. But we know the reality. The fees pile up, thousands of dollars in debt. They drive people into the underground economies and make it harder for them to re-enter and be successful in their communities. I saw this time and time again when I was the executive director of the African American Art and Culture Complex. We believed in the second chance. We opened the doors to opportunity. And I saw how hard many of these employees work after paying their debt to society and receiving a second chance. They wanted to make a fresh start, and they grew discouraged when they started to see their paycheck garnished and their bank accounts levied. We also know these fees are not an efficient way to raise revenue for our city. Charging people fees who simply cannot afford to pay them is not the way to balance our books. The collection rate for some of these fees is only 9%. There is something wrong with a fee when the collection rate is only 9%. It's important to remember that people paying these fees have faced other consequences. They've spent time in jail. They are paying fines. The jobs of these fees to recover the costs are an additional layer of punishment, and they fail to do the job. So we need to be more fair. We need to be more just. We need to reevaluate how we do business. I want to thank the people who are a part of making this important legislation a reality. And I couldn't have imagined that we were able to build such an amazing coalition of people from all parts of the city family, as well as many nonprofit organizations and community members. Thank you to our treasurer, Jose Ciceros. Thank you again to the public defender, Jeff Adachi, our district attorney, George Gascon, our sheriff, Vicki Hennessy, who immediately, when I introduced the legislation, stopped assessing the fines and fees, the San Francisco Public Adult Probation Department, Karen Fletcher, and I also like to thank the amazing organizations that are here today that came together to make this happen so many people, so much time. These fees are not what San Francisco is about, and I am proud that we are first in the nation to end this practice. These reforms started in San Francisco, but I know they won't end here. Other counties are contacting us about what they can do to move this forward. And now I'd like to turn this over to our treasurer, Jose Cisneros, who helped make this possible.
Thank you, Mayor Breed. It's a great day for financial justice in San Francisco. Yeah, let's hear it. Almost 2 years ago, I launched the Financial Justice Project and began speaking with local community members who were raising the alarm about the impact fines, fees, and tickets were having on low-income people and on communities of color. I was moved by the stories of how a single fine, a single fee, or a ticket could keep a family trapped in cycles of poverty if they could not afford to pay it. Our Financial Justice Project convened a task force of community advocates and government leaders to dig into this challenge and to see how we could right-size some of these fines and fees and support our city's most vulnerable residents. Through this process, we learned that our city was charging thousands of dollars of fees to people exiting the criminal justice system at the exact moment they were trying to get back on their feet. These fees piled on thousands of dollars of debt on our city's most vulnerable residents and prevented people from successfully doing things like getting a job, getting a place to live, and doing all the things they needed to do to get back on their feet. They often trapped people in debt they could not escape. So I'm the city's debt collector, and I believe the collection rates on these fees that were simply as low as 9% on some probation fees were too low because it's simply people could not afford to pay it. Our city leaders came together, and because they saw these fees were high pain for the people and low gain for government. Mayor Breed, when you passed this legislation last month and our partners at the District Attorney and Public Defender's Office took a step further, we went a step further and asked the court to eliminate all the debt hanging over families from the fees that were charged in the past. And as the mayor said, today we are proud to announce that the court has eliminated $32.7 million in debt from over 21,000 people in this community. This is debt that we never would have collected, but has been keeping families trapped in poverty. Today represents what our city can do when we work together. This would not have happened without the leadership of our mayor, Mayor Breed, Public Defender Jeff Adachi, District Attorney George Gascon, our Adult Probation Chief Fletcher, and Sheriff Vicki Hennessy, and countless others who made today happen. But honestly, these reforms would not have happened without many community groups and organizations that opened our eyes to why it is so important for our city to move these reforms forward. So I'd like to thank the Community Housing Partnership, All of Us or None, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, the Coalition on Homelessness, the Young Women's Freedom Center, our friends at the San Francisco Foundation, and the Walter and Elise Haas Fund, and Tipping Point Communities, our friends at Policy Link and the California Reinvestment Coalition, the East Bay Community Law Center, the Ella Baker Center, the Insight Center for Community Development, United Playas, University of California Berkeley Public Advocacy Center, and the University of California at Hastings. I want to personally also acknowledge the amazing leadership of my colleague Ann Stuhldreher, who directs the Financial Justice Project. I think everyone, as you see here, knows Ann and can appreciate how instrumental her leadership has been to securing this win today. Thank you, Ann, for your compassion, for your tenacity, and your inability to take no for an answer. And now I'd like to turn it over to our public defender, Jeff Adachi, who's been another key leader in this effort. Jeff? Thank you.
On the day before Thanksgiving, I was working at the front desk. My staff leaves early, and so I was working the front desk. A young man named Joseph came in, and he was holding a paycheck stub in his hand. And I asked him what help he needed, and he said, "Look at my paycheck." And he says, every paycheck, $200 is taken out to pay these fines and fees. He was only making $800 every 2 weeks. He told me, I have 2 children. I'm a single father. I have the sole responsibility of taking care of them. I can't feed my kids because of this. Broke my heart. At about that time, we had already started an initiative to change the way that San Francisco collects fines and fees. We weren't sure at that point what was going to result. It was a very ambitious idea, and I wish I could take credit for it, but James Tracy from the Community Housing Partnership came to me, and he said, "We're going to wipe out fines and fees." I'm like, "Are you crazy? Oh, who are we going to get to agree to that?" And so we started meeting, and fortunately at that time, Jose and his staff had already begun looking at this issue and had issued a report, and we decided to try to focus on fines and fees. And we thought, how are we going to get the Board of Supervisors and the mayor to agree to this? And so we brought it to then President of the Board and Supervisor London Breed. And she didn't ask for a report. She didn't ask for a hearing. She just said, we're going to make this happen. She got it right away. She understood how these fines and fees crush families, crush individuals who are trying to turn their life around like Joseph, and destabilize communities. And you know, even though when you get a call from our treasurer, it's usually not good news, he got it right away too. And so we were able to go to Sheriff Hennessy, DA Gascon, and Probation Chief Fletcher, and they all agreed. So that was very important, and it sends an important message. You have to remember that San Francisco is a place where Ban the Box first started. That initiative, within 2 years, went statewide. And this week, there's a bill in the federal government that's going to be introduced in Congress. So we can do the same thing here. There's now an initiative to bring this statewide and to bring this nationwide. There are people suffering all over this country because they are being charged with these fines and fees. And mind you, these have nothing to do, in most cases, with the criminal conviction itself. We're not talking about restitution or paying back money for property damage or injury. That's still required under the law. Most of the things are for like court fees, for courtroom construction, things that are not related at all to the criminal conviction. The time is for reform is now. We're seeing the pieces of reform happen. This is huge. But you really need to hear it from somebody who has experienced it, who knows the impact. And I'm very pleased to introduce Mary Vandegrift. Mary?
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Vandegrift. I am Assistant Lobby Supervisor for Community Housing Partnership. This law truly affected my life. I too have a past. I am a single mother who is just trying to make it financially, and worrying about these courts, fines, and fees made it hard to sleep at night. I was always wondering when my check was going to be garnished, when I was trying to get back on my feet and be successful in my life. Today, I no longer have to worry. This law was passed. We have a brilliant amount of people working on it, and we all came together and did this. So I thank everybody who worked on this project, and I'm just really happy for everybody behind me as well who this has affected and has eliminated these fees for them. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much for coming out. Again, we still need to continue this effort. This only gets rid of about half of the fines and fees. The other fines and fees are imposed by the state. Yeah, that's what we'll do. But thank you for being here. And you can ask any questions of the speakers after the press conference.